All right, Rick, do you know where you said we were going to be missing a few people tonight, so should we just get started expecting maybe a couple of latecomers?
We are pretty short this evening. I know Jared is going to join late. And then, Megan, is this looking like this is our crew tonight?
Yeah, it would only be if Jim Gruber's joining.
Okay. So it looks like maybe Jim Gruber will join, and then Jared should be joining shortly. So I think we could get started here at 6:02.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you on this gorgeous day. I thought it'd be really nice for us to just, say who we are and then say what our favorite summertime activity is, just to get a little piece of ourselves into the space, this virtual space. And I'll start, and then I'll just call out folks. So I'm Angie Raymond LeDuc, and my favorite summertime activity is typically swimming in a lake if I can. So I love really a morning swim in the lake is probably my favorite, but I haven't actually done that in a long time. So might have to do that before summer's over. Laura, Laura Perez, would you like to share?
Hi. I have a lot of favorite summertime activities. It's hard to pick one, but I think one of my favorite things to do is to go on adventures with my kids. And what we've been doing this summer is every Monday we go and look for a new swimming hole somewhere. And that's been really fun. We found so many amazing places that we haven't been to before. And that's been a lot of fun this summer.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome.
Laura Dykstra, would you like to tell us your favorite summertime activity?
Sure. So I think I'm with you, going to a lake, just being near a body of water. We, one of my sons was able to borrow some kayaks a couple weeks ago, and it ended up that one of us had to swim. we took turns, so that was really fun. And like you said, we don't get a chance terribly often, so really fun to spend oh my gosh, probably 2 hours in Mascoma Lake. And you just can't do that year round for sure. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. So glad you got to find the time. That's fantastic. Deb?
Yeah, we love to camp, but I'd say the one thing I always look forward to each summer is picking fruit, and just it's like the height of berry season right now, so I'm really enjoying that. And yeah, so
That's awesome. Thanks, Deb. Megan?
I love swimming also, especially at Mascoma Lake. But another favorite summertime activity is gardening for me.
Nice. John?
Well, I love camping. Thank you for including me. I love camping, and we have a camper on Loon Lake in Croydon.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, John. And Rick?
Like John, my family and we are campers, and we keep our camper down in Meredith, where my wife grew up. And John, we know some mutual friends, I bet. My accountant is over at Loon Lake, and some of our other friends. But on vacation last week, I found that I really enjoyed taking a nap in my hammock. And, just with the summer breeze, and when you're in the hammock, it blows all around you. So it was really restful. And I think I scared the neighbors. They probably thought there was a bear outside of their camper, but it was just me. And I know I embarrassed my 13-year-old when I'm snoring away and the neighbors are outside. But definitely enjoyed that.
Rick, can we call you Yogi?
You could call me Yogi. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have to say, I'm also with Megan and Deb with the fruit picking and the gardening, because it's my favorite thing to do too. On top of that, it's nice to hear everybody, because I think we would all have fun if we were hanging out together, except for listening to Rick snore. It might not be so much fun. I'm actually going to move us back to Rick because we're going to do the approval of minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, so we're going to give this a try. Megan said, are we able to approve them if we don't have a quorum? Someone at the city is going to let me know if it is not official. But so we will need a motion to accept the minutes as written. Certainly, if you would like to have discussion about the minutes, hopefully everyone had a chance to read them. And then we'll need a second and I'll do a roll call vote. Does anyone have any discussion for the last meeting's minutes? We have anyone willing to make a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right, so now we can go through and do a roll call vote. Deb Herndon. Oh,
You're muted.
you were muted on that one, Deb.
Sorry. I approve. I wasn't there, but I'm sure they were all in order.
Okay, excellent. Laura Perez. Yes. And Laura Dykstra.
Approve.
And Angie.
Approved.
Megan.
Approved.
And I would vote yes to approve those minutes. And John, you don't get a vote, do you?
I don't get a vote.
No, all right, good. Not good that you don't get a vote, but good that somebody knows the how official
How it works.
public meetings are actually supposed to work, because I'm still learning the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. You know, Megan and I here in the rec office, we're about the fun part of the meeting. So,
Awesome.
all right, so the minutes are approved as written, and we will pass those along.
We'll only need to revisit if you find out we didn't have enough people. Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Thanks, Rick. So we're going to talk a little bit about the survey. So I'm guessing all of you here today were able to sort of experience the online survey and provide some feedback. Rick, I think maybe we're looking for some open discussion first around the survey, and then I think Megan will probably share either some updates or go through the survey. Is that right?
Yeah, I think certainly we could open it up to that discussion, and then I think we'll do as we did last week, and we'll click right through it. But if there's something that somebody wanted to address ahead of time, certainly we're open to hearing that right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Rick, I apologize. I have not had a chance to go through the survey and if it was amended or not from or edited from the last time. I did want to bring an idea forward. So we had a lot of great discussion at the last meeting, and somebody was sort of indicating the thought process behind, like, for example, do you support a 7th grade softball field or whatever the situation was, and saying that was different from, would you use the 7th grade softball team? And I guess I want to just say, I think both are valid. I don't have a 7th grader as in this small example, but I could support that facility and or activity.
Mm-hmm.
So my takeaway in a very small, friendly way last time was it was one or the other. Like, you have to be willing to pay money to say you support it. And I want to caution us against that, because we're all at different life stages in the city, and that might make us use different facilities, but that does not mean we don't support a facility that we would not use. So kind of, I just say that in an umbrella way. And I'd be very, I'm going to make every effort to, go through the survey as well. But I just wanted to kind of put that out, that while I understand there are valid differences in how the question is written, I don't think it's an all or nothing.
I think what you highlight, Laura, is just the importance of language and ensuring that we really get the language correct, in the survey, so that it isn't sort of that leading question of that all or nothing. But sorry, Rick, you were going to respond.
No, I think you're right on, Angie. And now I'm thinking about, I just clicked through the survey again and very much went through the tunnel vision of what is my family and what I would use. So when I answered the questions, I rated, K through 6 after school program very low. I won't use that at all. Do I support it? Absolutely. In reality, I could go through and I would support everything at its highest level. So I think when we go through this survey again here, it is very important that we look at making sure that folks would feel comfortable clicking that they would still support it, because you're right. I may not use an arts and crafts program, but I see that there's value in it for our community. So that's good. And like Angie, you mentioned, a lot of that comes down to language.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I think the format of the question too. So we might, if we're posing two questions, one is, do you support? And one is, would you use? Perhaps the format of those questions should be different so that people aren't getting confused because they look the same, right? So would it make sense for us to just go ahead and go through it or right now, or would others have any kind of overall comments to make right now? About thumbs up if we just go ahead and go through it. Okay. All right, so Megan will share. And just, Megan, is this an updated version or the same version we went through before, we tested?
So we did receive some feedback from some other people in the office, as well as some of the team members. So there are a few updates that we've made. Just on this page right here, we just put all of us in alphabetical order, where before I had put Rick and I at the bottom.
Okay, so last name alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if anybody wants to change, I kind of just looked people up and put in what we had their affiliation as, but if you want to change that or you have updates for that, you can just let me know. Does everything look good on this page to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the first question with the vision and whether you support or have reservations against the vision.
Megan, I'm sorry. Can we go back to the first page again?
Yeah.
My brain is not working fast enough. One of the things I was thinking about when I took the survey was I felt like the purpose was not clear of the survey. Like there's a hint at the vision of the community center piece, but sometimes to say the purpose of the survey is to such and such, so to kind of name what are we going to ask people? Why are we asking people to take the survey?
I wonder, Angie, if we take a moment and we take a look at the blurb that is going to go along with the link to this, because that might answer that question. And maybe we'll be able to, if needed, take some of that language and move it into the survey as well.
Yeah, it certainly never will hurt to repeat language. Yeah, that's a good idea, Rick.
I can pull it up right now.
Okay.
So this is just what we started with. We can update it as much as needed. It says the City of Lebanon values recreational opportunities for all of its citizens. Please take a few minutes to share your thoughts using our interactive survey. Your input will help the City of Lebanon and community partners better understand the community's wants, needs, and preferences for the development of a community center. The survey takes less than 10 minutes and will help determine the need and feasibility of a community center. To access the survey, please follow this link. Please share this link with anyone you think might be interested. Learn more about the community center leadership team and then the link for that.
Megan, could you pull that up on the screen?
Oh, is it not up right now?
I don't see it now.
No, we still see the survey.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for reading it.
Is it showing now?
There we are.
Okay, sorry about that.
You might want to blow it up just a little bit for us old folks.
So while Megan's doing that, again, I want to make sure that everybody knows this is a draft. And like we did the first draft of the survey last week, we really appreciated everyone's input. And we hope that you feel free to give us as much input as you see necessary here as well.
Just an easy thing I would add right away is just saying that the surveys are not, is it anonymous? It's anonymous. I don't remember putting in any personal information.
It is anonymous. There is an opportunity to provide an email address if you want the community forum reminder sent to you.
Right. And then, you know, but it's not a required, they don't have to fill it out. Right.
Yep. Maybe we can say using our anonymous interactive survey. I'm not sure.
You could
Where,
just say
where
the
do you see
survey,
it?
you could say where it says the survey takes less than 10 minutes. So I would say the survey is anonymous and will take less than 10 minutes.
I just have a question. Is the survey actually interactive? Like when I think of an interactive survey, it's when you answer one question, depending on what the answer is, it would direct you to another question. And my recollection isn't that it was interactive in that way.
I think there was only one question that falls in that interactive group. We can certainly remove that word.
You could just call it digital survey so people realize that it's
Or online survey or something like that.
online's
Yeah.
good too.
Oh,
Do
and
we-
looking at this. Oh, go ahead, Ange.
I was just wondering if, do we want to say the development of a potential community center? I mean, is it leading that like, hey, we're building a community center and it kind of does, like, we're getting your feedback, but we're going to build the community center. Does that, without kind of putting some sort of maybe statement in there?
Yeah, you know, I guess, how does that read, that last line there where it says, will help determine the need and feasibility of a community center? I mean, I read that as determine the need, is there or is there not, but
Yeah,
open
okay.
to
Yeah.
more
want
clear
to.
language.
No, I think it's, I'm rereading it now with a different lens. And so better understand the community's wants, needs, and preferences. And maybe it's not for the development, maybe it's just of a community center. Maybe that's what it is.
Could we try one, still working on that same sentence, wants and preferences seem very similar to me. So we could just say needs and preferences, and instead of for the, which will help us decide the feasibility of a community center, maybe. I feel like we need to
Shrink that a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the last sentence maybe could get smushed into that sentence.
Yeah, so maybe needs and preferences which could be met through the development of a community center.
Okay.
And then that would talk, and then that you'd go back to the feasibility. Sorry, I added words, but I think it might bring some clarity. That way it leaves it open that we're still exploring it and not committed to it.
Right, that's what I think I was trying to get at, was this is an exploration. Yeah.
One thing I will say, Megan, I think we wanted to include in this some specific language that Laura had suggested, Laura Perez, about perhaps help available filling out this survey. And did we have specific language for that, Megan?
I think we do. Let me
Laura,
see if I can pull it up.
Megan had mentioned that your group would be willing to maybe provide videos of reading the questions. That's the case?
Well, what we've been doing for some other places is just being available to read through questions with people by phone. And the video that I was suggesting was just to read this first statement here on a video with closed captioning. And then that way, if someone was, had a visual or learning impairment or hearing impairment, it sort of hits all the marks to let people access that. And then if anyone needs help going through it, they can call or email SNSC and we'll happily help them fill out the survey. That way we don't have to try to do a video for each question, but rather just direct people to SNSC if they need help. And we're happy to do that.
That's really great, Laura. Thank you for thinking of that and
You're
including.
welcome.
With the edits of the second paragraph, we need to address the last sentence in that paragraph because now it's redundant. So on the last sentence, you could just say the survey is anonymous and will take less than 10 minutes, period. But I don't know if we think we need any more than that because we've addressed it in the prior sentence.
Is everybody good with me erasing this part? Yeah.
Yeah, I think yep.
Yep.
And just because I'm an editor and I think these ways, we use the word community 3 times in that one sentence. And so I would love it if we said community partners better understand maybe our citizens' needs and preferences. I don't know, something other than community again. So
Maybe, can we just say partners instead of community partners? Is that possible?
that's true too, yeah.
Yeah.
We can. It's funny. Megan and I went back and forth on this for like 10 minutes and we're like, just leave it in there all 3 times and someone's going to come up with something better for us.
I think I like leaving the part where it says understand the community's needs because we're not just surveying citizens. So is everybody okay with taking out this community at the partners?
I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that little paragraph is what should be added into the survey when you pop up onto the survey. I think there's nothing wrong with repeating the information, especially depending on how people access the link. So if they're accessing, if other people are sharing and forwarding the link, sometimes people are going to access the survey just from that link. And so I think it would be nice to see that paragraph again in that welcome blurb on the survey itself.
So are we feeling pretty good about this blurb right now? I think if we move back over to the survey, are you saying on slide 1, Angie? Well, let's pull up the survey.
Yeah.
You guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
So the exact blurb in the email could be placed here. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it could be shrunk down a little bit more depending on how it looks in the context of these other pieces. But I think there's potential for people to not see that introductory letter. And I think it's really important to talk about the purpose of the survey.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think. I think we were trying to view the blurb, for lack of a better word, in the email, kind of coming from the city, and then this coming from the community center leadership team. But we're all the same thing. So Megan, do you want to try and plug it in?
I think at that point we would probably take out this first part.
Yep. I like that.
I do too.
Does anyone have any other suggestions for this page?
I feel like please take a few minutes. That little paragraph actually needs to be the last paragraph because that's the call to action.
Okay.
Like, do this now that you've read all this. Please do this.
Down at the bottom where all of our names are listed, I think it was a great piece of feedback to put it alphabetically by last name. But my only suggestion would be to move Megan up just under Rick so that the city staff were together and then the community partners were listed underneath of it.
Does that look good for everybody?
I'm struggling with the first, the very beginning of the paragraphs. So the city values recreational opportunities for all. That's fine, I agree. Then we go to a new paragraph with the vision of the team. And I feel like it's all very choppy. I don't know if we even need the first sentence, because we're kind of saying the same thing in the next sentence.
I agree with that, Laura.
Yeah,
I think bringing the two
choppy.
together, we become redundant again, especially with that first
Right.
sentence.
Yeah.
And I do like the vision statement of the leadership team better than that other sentence.
That feels more concise to me.
I do have one more question now, just re-looking at the top sentence. I wonder if I mean, the the facility would be for more than just citizens, right? And so maybe we should indicate that around the quality of life for citizens and others. And I'm not quite sure of what word to use. It's just pretty narrow by only including citizens.
I think
I'm open to suggestions there. I'm trying to, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's no way that we could do anything in Lebanon without it also encompassing folks from other communities. All of our programming currently accepts non-residents, and I think originally we had looked at it because we know that when it goes to city council, there is weighted responses for Lebanon residents. Responses will certainly hold more weight than a non-resident. We could say "and others."
What if we say "and neighbors" or "and our neighbors"?
And neighboring communities. Let me read that.
Well, but in a way, the way citizen is, it doesn't say citizen of Lebanon. It doesn't say U.S. citizen. So it's rather generic. But what if we changed that word to greater community neighbors, or because I think we want it to be a little more generic and a little more open. Then we don't. I think the point is we don't want to imply Lebanon residents only.
What if we said?
What if we say residents and neighbors?
Yeah. I actually think it's probably important to put Lebanon residents, because we don't say Lebanon. I mean, I guess it's at the very top in the header. But like if I share this with associates at Hypertherm, I imagine a lot of people will fill it out, but if they're not realizing what specific town it's for. But I can't see the header right now, so I don't know if it says Lebanon there or not. Oh, it does say
Here
Lebanon.
it will, yeah.
So maybe we don't need to say Lebanon. Maybe that's too much.
And I think it's the purpose of this survey, as Rick was just mentioning too, is to not be exclusive to Lebanon residents taking the survey, because we have so many other communities, people from different communities, partaking in our programs. I think that looks better. I still feel like the grants, private donations, and other non-property tax funding mechanisms feels a little out of place in the flow of things, but I know it's important to state. I
wonder if we should put that part with the funding mechanisms question. Put that statement and then put the question. We could just take it off of this intro.
Yeah, right. I know that it's needs to be said somewhere. It feels a little out of place right here. But
well, I agree that please take a few minutes is our call to action. I'm curious if we would like the grant sentence to be last. So here's our vision. Here's what we are asking of you right now. And your parting thought is to know it won't be tax funded entirely. I don't know how people feel about that.
Thinking about further on in the survey, and Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is the last question on the survey. It asks folks what types of funding mechanisms would they support to pay for a community center. And it talks about grants, private donations, taxes, tax credits. So I think potentially we could remove it altogether as it is addressed later in the survey.
What if we say at the end of residents and neighbors, it is the intention of this committee to prioritize grants, private donations, and other non-property tax funding mechanisms.
Honestly,
So-
I feel like your first instinct to take it out of this intro makes more sense. And if that sentence needs to be in the survey, because to me, I'm thinking, oh, they just want to know if anyone would even come and use this. It seems odd to start talking about funding in the intro to a survey.
Yeah.
It's a great piece to have as part of the survey.
It feels like a disclaimer actually to me. It sounds like we're trying to have any political, anxiety that might be created in the community. And I don't think we can do that. I think that some people are going to have anxiety no matter what we do and what we say.
Right.
So to leave it almost sets that up as an issue when
At
in
the
reality,
beginning,
what
yeah.
we're going to do is get some information that will help us to determine what's next for the community.
Yeah,
So I
so
guess-
let's pull it out of there and let it be addressed in the question 7.
Mm-hmm.
That look good for everybody for this page?
Yes. Thank you, Megan.
This is the first question with the vision and the level of support.
I really struggled with this question, and I felt like it was more of an agree, like, do you agree with this versus do you support this? Like, I didn't feel like the way it's written makes me want to say, oh, I agree with you. But then the responses are, I fully support this vision. But I don't feel like I have enough information. I don't have the full information of the vision to be able to say that I support it yet. So it's hard for me to say that I support it when I don't actually know what the full vision is. So I wondered and was curious if this would be better as more of a Likert scale of agree, or well, strongly agree to disagree, or strongly disagree. And I think your middle ground could be unsure or something like that. Just food for thought.
I agree, because in some ways I feel like this sentence almost feels like the summation question at the very end, that you'd kind of put your stake in the ground here. So, and that one other thought is, since we already talked about citizens, we could just end the sentence with quality of life for all, and then just leave off of our citizens.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't have, like Deb is saying, we shouldn't have a I fully support this maybe somewhere. And I think you're right, like a summary question might be where this response section should go. But this particular, it's not really a question, it's a statement. So it's like, do you agree or disagree or whatever with the following statement? And I think I put in my feedback something about a question that would match these responses would be something more like, if a community center is to be developed, what would be your level of support for the vision of community center or something like that? I'm not articulating or the best language there, but something specific that would lead to, yes, I fully support this, or I have reservations, or I need more information, or something like that.
the wordsmithing is certainly not coming to me. If anyone has,
I like the idea of changing it to a Likert scale, but leaving the comments section also.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I've seen them without a neutral option, and that kind of forces people to choose an agree or disagree.
Yeah.
So maybe if we did strongly disagree, disagree, agree, and strongly agree, that might be helpful. I'm not sure how much information we get from somebody saying they're neutral.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's usually a recommendation to try to leave out a neutral response if you can.
Megan, is that something you can change easily right now, or is that something we come back to?
I think we're going to have to come back to that one.
Okay. Would
John?
folks agree to leave the statement and then change it to, what was it, agree, disagree, strongly agree?
I agree with, yeah, let's do that. I think that's a good idea.
John, you look like you were trying to say something before, but you're muted. I didn't know if you were trying to say something.
Yes, I was. Am I okay now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering, I think someone made the comment that this sounded more like a summation piece. And now thinking about that, I'm thinking to myself, to go through and take the survey itself and then ask something along this lines, that might be better, because what if somebody says right here, they get this very first question and they say, well, I don't support this, because they haven't really thought about it. The questions are going to pull, they're going to tease that out of people. They're going to start thinking about all these different possibilities. And we're much more likely to get some real relevance and to have people actually finish the survey, because I'm just afraid that they won't even finish the survey and they won't be thinking about what we're really asking them.
Right. I think the following questions give a lot more context to the potential of a community center.
We can certainly move this to the end. That does make a ton of sense. I think that the questions that are coming next are going to pull that emotion out of people, or, oh, geez, I never even thought about cooking classes for my kids, or I never thought about a walking track. So we can certainly make this the very last one. And hopefully if there was anyone who was going to click the I have significant reservations, by the time they get to the end of the survey, maybe they'll at least be in the middle. Oh, those are the hardest folks to move. Maybe we'll get the people in the middle at least to move up to the top.
Right.
So let me ask you this. If we move this to the end, are we okay with how it's written, or do we still move to the Likert scale?
No, I don't think that the statement and the responses match. They don't match at all. So I think the statement, it is the vision of the community center leadership team that a community center can be a place that brings, we might want to say, we might want to add something like, do you agree that a community center can be a place that brings our community together to enhance quality of life for all, or something like that, and then do the Likert scale. And then maybe these responses here, to me, matches more of a, if the development of a community center happens, would you be in support? What level of support? Where do you fall in your level of support, or something like that? And then you get those options and maybe one more, but then that's kind of like the neutral one. Unsure. Keep leaning towards these neutral questions. So that's where I was struggling, Rick, was that the statement didn't really match these responses. And so just wanting to tweak that a little bit.
Okay.
So I think both should be there. Like, do you agree that this is the value of a community center? A, and then B, what is your level of support for a community center? Which I think would make more sense at the end, because as you know, John was saying, there's all the richness in the following questions that describes the community center a little bit more.
All right, Megan and I can certainly edit that and put in the scale. And then if folks, I don't know what your days look like tomorrow, but we could probably send that out, because we do want to try and get this out. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that quickly here for the sake of time, but we will move it to the end as well.
Yeah, so I think if we can test it out by tomorrow, end of day tomorrow, that should give you a little bit more feedback of how things go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if anybody has time to wordsmith and offer some language via email, that might be helpful too. I'd be happy to help with that.
So this second question, I think Laura Dykstra, this might be what you were talking about, but this one asks about potential programs or activities that you would use.
Right. And, you know, we could have a question that says use it, and another question with the same ones that says will you support it, but then you don't want to turn people off by a question that feels redundant to them.
Mm-hmm.
Could we add to this statement, please check the potential programs or activities that you would most likely use and or support?
Sure.
Doesn't the next question ask what you would support? I can't.
So the next one is based on the facility spaces.
Oh,
Which ones are
okay.
you most likely to participate in?
And there's spaces. Is there an, what's the question after that?
After this one,
Yeah.
it goes on to members of your household having a disability.
Okay.
Sorry, can we go to the top of 3 again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Can we go back up to 2? Sorry. Maybe would most likely use, or I'm trying to think. I mean, it could be that you know that your neighbors have young children who could use that. Like you or your neighbors would most likely use. Would that, I don't know.
You or someone you know.
Yeah.
What if you said, would you, activities that you would value in our community?
I like that.
What I'm also wondering, if I'm trying to remember what SurveyMonkey offers for like grid responses. And I was just thinking if it can be a 2-part question, although that can get really overwhelming to look at visually. And there was like 1 more column or 2 more columns to the right that said, please also check if you would support, you know, this same activity. So it's all in the same place instead of being 1 more, you know, spot. But I can't remember what SurveyMonkey offers. And
So here's a kind of a different thought altogether. If we, let's say we left these and we either leave it as use or we say likely support, how do we feel about having a question that said something about an overview of your household? You know, like, do you have elementary children? Are you a single person in a home? Are you in retirement? I mean, just some really generic, I don't know, stages. And then, so that would let us know, you know, perhaps how many are going to use an out of school program in day camp versus you know, something else. I mean, it would be very subjective, but I wonder if that would address a little bit of what we're trying to do now.
I'm wondering, how will folks feel about providing that demographic information? I don't know. I haven't
May not be good.
I haven't taken many surveys where I have to provide that,
Yeah.
but my initial feeling is like, do I want to click if I'm a single parent or those things? That might not feel comfortable is my guess.
Rick, I could
Yes.
share, so I have to in my surveys ask
Yeah.
demographic questions because I'm federally funded. And I can share, you know, what we do. And so to get at some of those stage of life questions, we just ask, you know, what age range are you in? Do you have children and what are their ages? You know, like that kind of thing. So it doesn't get down to like, are you a single parent and, you know, that.
Right.
Okay.
But it stays general enough, and it's annoying. Not everybody likes to answer them, and sometimes they can be offensive. So we'd really want to make sure that we're paying attention to the best practices in language, especially depending on where we go with demographics. But I think it's also okay if we're not requiring it. You know, if they can kind of opt, or having an opt-out option that they're not responding to it. Because what the value of asking is that you can pull a report by age and by parent status. So you could find out what parents are saying, right? That 80% of parents are saying they would like to have, you know, an indoor pool kind of thing. You could say, you know, the majority of people over age 65 want a indoor walking track. You know, like you could start to pull that kind of information.
I can see that being helpful.
Yeah.
Is that something that is at the very end?
Demographic questions usually come at the end. I think because you're really grabbing a hold of people's engagement with more of the content questions and context questions and the ones you really want people to respond to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying make it something that's not mandatory, that's maybe more comfortable for more folks.
Yeah, and even if it's you make people answer the question by requiring the question, make sure there's an opt-out response. So prefer not to say. So there should always be a prefer not to say option for people to check.
Okay. I like that, being able to break it down by age.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get back to number 2 and see if we can finalize that. Can we make an easy change to this statement? Please check potential programs or activities that you would most likely use. Do we add support?
I liked Laura's suggestion of adding check the potential programs or activities that you would value in our community. So I think that tells you whether you might use it or you might know somebody else that uses it, so it's valuable for your neighbors. Or
Okay, so let's go ahead. I like that as well. How do others feel about that?
Is that going to change is that going to automatically change that verbiage at the top of each?
I think we'll have to change that also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think value makes it broad enough that you could, I like that. I have another question about how we ordered the things on this list. Because it just seems very, I don't know, stream of consciousness, maybe. I don't know if it's something where we would just, you know, alphabetize so that it just, at least it has some, you know, like some reason for why the list is this way. or, you know, or are we front loading the things that we think are most important at the top? Anyway, just to me, it just kind of like
Correct.
confused me. Like, why did we start with out of school programs? So,
Sure. And I think that did we go by which ones got the most responses?
Yeah.
At the
Oh, okay.
beginning, you remember the community center leadership team? We kind of put together our wish list,
Right.
and the ones that got the most mentions were the ones that went first.
Okay. That makes sense then. And I think, you know,
I do think it's okay to alphabetize it, though. I mean,
Yeah.
just for the sake of putting it in some sort of logical order that would make sense to anybody who's coming through. And it just occurred to me, I was looking at the response choices, and I'm wondering if we said, please check the potential programs or activities that you would most likely use, support, or that you value for your community, or something like that. And then in the response rates, it's very likely to use, participate, or support. And I think you keep the do not know or no opinion, and then people that are like, I really don't have an opinion about this and I'm not going to use it, etc., could choose that option. Just curious about that. Because I think it's really, I think we want to know whether or not, it will feed further information for us later on to know whether or not people would actually use or participate in it, as well as support it. I think we would want to know all of those things. And so I'm just trying to think of a way to not add another question, but to be able to get it in there.
I do like that, especially from the rec side of things. You know, eventually we have to get to a point where if the community wants and says they're going to use these things, then when it comes time for planning and budgeting, questions that'll be asked, we'll have some data to go back to. Well, we know this many families are looking for after-school program, so it's worth investing the staff hours to create that program and kind of come up with the budget for that specific program. But certainly like the idea of adding, what did you say?
So most likely
Participate, use,
comma, participate in, and support, and or support. And then you would have to change your, yep, very likely to use, participate, or support. And I think when we test it out again, that will help us really know for sure if that's going to work. Like, I'll slow myself down and make sure that I'm really thinking that through when I take that, for example, instead of just, you know, to see if that language works.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think about, as I mentioned earlier, I went through with the tunnel vision of what my family was going to use. Because the way it's written now, and I think there are other families in the community that may just be this way, they'll blanket support everything, which is okay. But does it help us figure out what we put our energy into for staffing? And maybe we get some of those answers from the spaces that they choose as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm struggling with, we're talking about programs and activities. I don't think we need the word use. I don't use programs. I don't use activities. I participate in them. So participate in and or support. Yeah, and so I don't know, like and then perhaps, because I know then the next question is about the actual amenities themselves. Maybe some of these things don't need to be in both places. If that makes sense. Like the indoor track, we don't need to say indoor track for question 2 because it's not a program. It's just an amenity.
Rick, I need to duck out. I will look for this update and try to get through the survey in the next couple of days.
Okay.
Nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you,
All
Laura,
right.
for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, Megan, and then we could take use out of those
Yeah.
responses too.
Hate to be picky. Can we put participate in for the response?
Yeah, we can.
Oops.
Here you go. Sorry.
You don't have to do it now, Megan, but you could put the and or support in there just to match
Okay.
the language, but you could do it later. You don't have to do it now.
All right. We're feeling pretty good about number 2. Want to move on to number 3. I see people starting to fade a little bit. I don't want to lose anyone.
Yeah, and you don't have indoor track on there, you just have indoor walking. So like that is the
So that is
activity.
activity.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's true.
It would be funny if somebody picked indoor walking as like something they would do and then said no to a track.
Are we feeling pretty good with number 3?
Can you read the full language, Megan? Because I can't see it on the screen.
It says, please share with us your response to the following potential community center amenities. Participants can check 0 through 5. We have 5 essential or highest priority, and 1 is do not include or lowest priority.
Thank you. I just realized I could move all of you to the other side. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying.
How do you all feel about, instead of share with us your response, just say, please rate the following potential community center amenities?
Yes, I'm good with that. I would take out your response too, Megan. Just please follow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Please rate the following. All good?
Yep.
And I think I would just do the same thing with like alphabetizing or something here. I really like the response options that you have. Yeah.
Are we good to move on to number 4?
Yeah.
See, and actually right here, this is a demographic kind of question. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense to put a few others in.
Mm-hmm. Does this pop out to another question if you answer yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it turns to this page if you answered yes. I guess we could probably take out the part that says if you answered yes, because it automatically goes.
No, that's true. Yeah.
All right, so there's these 2 questions if you answer yes.
Okay. Laura Perez, I'm guessing you're giving a thumbs up to these questions.
Yes. Although I guess I'll just put this out there, is that the only warning I have for a question like this is around the city's actual ability to provide these sort of accommodations. I still hope that you'll ask it because it's really important to know. But that's always something to consider. You know, if you have a lot of people who do require this type of accommodations, then how will you provide them? But I still think it's better to know than not know.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly really appreciate these questions in the survey. And like you say, I hope that we get a strong response and people tell us what they want, because the data makes it a lot easier to really stand behind those things and say, this is why we need to do it.
Well, and I'm really glad that you have an other in both questions, you know, for things that we're not thinking about. But I also think that this information is really going to inform all of the departments in the city as well. So.
Do we want to add in that funding mechanism statement here?
Yeah, that came from the first paragraph.
Yeah,
right?
do we want it at the beginning or at the end of this?
I would put it at the beginning and have the question. Megan, you have it memorized?
I wrote it down earlier, just in case I lost my copy and paste.
That is so impressive.
Oh my gosh.
I would maybe just put a space if that's possible. In the, you know.
And by taxes, do we mean property taxes, or do we mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, because taxes could mean anything. It could be a tax on commercial businesses. Or do we want to just leave it wide open so people can say what they want?
Well, I think it may be property taxes because that's the main funding mechanism
Yep.
in New Hampshire. Certainly if you've traveled or moved from a different state, they have a lot of different tax structures to support programs like this. But curious what other people think as well.
Well, we have the other options. So if people are thinking sort of other taxes, they should be able to put that in there. I would say that's what we're all used to. Being taxed on our property in this live free and die state. So.
So now we would add question 1. Are we going to add that as number 8? Is that what we were thinking?
I think that would work.
I just wonder if the financial question will be off-putting for people, and they may be feeling annoyed after reading about property taxes. So maybe if we put it right before it, while they were feeling happy about all of the
all the things that are going to be
all the possibilities. I just feel like the last question might be off-putting for people, although it's important.
Yeah, you're right. I like that.
I think that's
Let's put it there. Yeah.
Okay.
we love all of our citizens, but we know in these projects, we have a little acronym. We use CAVE, CAVE people, citizens against virtually everything.
Nice.
Do you think these two questions should be on separate pages like the others were? So they would have to, after answering this, they would click next and move to 7.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
to separate it.
Okay, I'll change that part after. And then probably the demographics questions would go before the zip code. Is that right, Angie?
Yeah, I would do zip code probably last. And I would do, you could do like a what age range, I can't think of the language right now, and I can share with you what I have. I can pull it up, but like what is your age? Are you a parent? And then I would have a pop-out question for the parents. So if they say yes to parent, then I would have a pop-out question like what are the ages of your children?
Okay.
Because there'll be people with adult children as well.
Okay,
Awesome.
I can add those also. Okay.
Everyone feeling pretty comfortable here with the survey?
Yeah, I think we just wanted to work on changing the language to match the responses for question 8, right? So that we have
Alright.
the first one is really, do you agree with the value of this value we're saying is of the community center? And then the last one is the support. Would you support it? Because I think that's really 2 different questions. Because somebody might value a community center, but not support it because they don't want to pay for it, right? We don't have to do that right now, but I can help. I can think tomorrow morning. I can try to wordsmith some stuff and send some stuff your way, and then you guys.
Yeah, I think it's important at this point to move on. But Angie, if you have ideas, or if anyone does, Megan, can they still click on this and view this again?
I can send around another link.
We can send it around so that you can look at it tonight. Our real goal is to finalize this and get it out for Monday. I know that's optimistic, but we would really like to hit that. So if you do have some time tonight or tomorrow, help with the language on that, and we can get that changed and put the Likert scale there.
Since you'll be sending to folks who weren't able to attend tonight, I would just really name the questions we want, like the intense feedback around in the email. So
Okay.
that being a little more intentional in their feedback is,
So I don't know if this is really true, and I haven't seen any scientific data to back up what I'm about to say, but I've heard that people are more likely to respond to surveys that are sent out on Tuesdays rather than Mondays. Maybe because of like all the emails that are built up and you just quickly delete things, and by Wednesday people are tired. But like I said, I mean, I don't really know if it's true, but I thought I would just share that with you.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I had a week full of Mondays, so I can appreciate rolling it out on a Tuesday, but I think we would still want to have it ready to go on the Monday. So I think it's important if you have some time and get that feedback to us quickly, so we're not rushed to roll it out on a Tuesday. But I do like that. They have all those statistics for you want an automobile built on a certain day for various reasons as well.
Well, and our plan is, yes, it'll roll out on probably a Tuesday, but are we going to be doing paid Facebook ads? Are we going to be doing, multiple kind of sending this out? So
we are going to bombard people with it. And I can tell you what I've started doing. Everybody I see in the community, I'm telling them about this survey that's coming their way, what we're doing, why we want their input. So I think it's important as community members if we can start doing that as well. Starting tomorrow, you see folks at the office or you have a Zoom call, you can front load them. Hey, this is coming. This is what we're doing. We think it's important. And it's based on your own comfort level. I'm the type of person, it's like if I need a soccer coach. First time I ever met you, hey, you ever coach soccer? You have any interest? I just ask everyone. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I think it really does go a long way for getting folks, to get on board, and maybe they'll see a little gleam in your eye and excitement that you have for the project and why it's important. So yeah, we'll be putting this out, and we hope to keep it out towards the end of September. I know John's working with Jacques on kind of what his time frame will be. That'll determine when we finalize that. But yeah, it's going to go out to people are going to see it a lot. That's our goal anyway.
Oh, good. So when I roll out my community survey, nobody will take it because they're taking yours. Is that what you're saying?
I will happily share that one as well.
Just kidding. Just kidding. You guys always do. You're amazing. So we will be champions for this survey for sure. Great. So if anybody has any more feedback about those particular questions, to get that to Megan ASAP. Megan, are you going to wait to send the link until tomorrow for us to view it because you're waiting for some email feedback, or you just want us to take a look at any time between now and tomorrow on the survey?
I could probably make those changes that haven't been made yet and then send it out in the morning if that works for everybody. I can work on it first thing.
Yeah. If it's going to go out so big and so broad,
Yeah.
taking the time to get it right, I think is really important.
Okay.
And we know Rick's a slave driver here. He's trying to make you work all hours to get this thing out. He's ready. He's ready for the survey to go. Awesome. Oh, we're at the closing thoughts. It's amazing. It's such a small group today. It's so interesting, but this is really great. So I was just thinking that maybe we could just share either an appreciation or a gratitude, or just any final thought that's kind of coming to you right now before we do the feedback form and adjourn. So whoever feels moved to speak may do so.
I will just say back to the initial comments I had with Rick, it is such a pleasure to see that little park go up on Maple Street and to see the city taking care of that lot, which that end of Maple Street has often been neglected. And so it's really, I think it speaks a lot about the city's intentions toward really improving life in general. So I feel like that's a little foretaste of what this community center could be. So I'm really thankful for that.
Thanks so much, Deb.
And just going off of what Deb said, the Special Needs Support Center has recently started more face-to-face programming, but we need to do it outdoors. And so we've been using Riverside Park because of the covered pavilion. And it's just been such a wonderful space for us. And it's given so much opportunity for our participants who really experience a lot of isolation and loneliness just under normal circumstances, chances to be together in a way that's really fun and safe. And an added bonus was the first week that we had gotten together after really 5 months. We ran short on programming because we didn't know how much time it would take. And so we took a walk down to the river and roll because we had 2 people who were in wheelchairs. So I was so grateful that the space was accessible. And it was just such an extra bonus that we saw the goats eating the poison ivy down there, and we had no idea that they would be there. And so it was it felt so great to have the space there and to have the park and to be together, and then also know that Parks and Rec cares enough about the environment to have goats rather than pesticides. It was just an extra added fun bonus. I was so grateful for it.
That's awesome. I just have to say, I'm so glad to hear that the goats still are around because they were I live on the rail trail and they were on the rail trail last summer. So thanks so much, Laura.
I have to say that I look forward to these meetings and also the farmers market, because that's times where we get to see other people. Typically that's part of our everyday, but with what's going on, we haven't been able to. But it's nice for these meetings to have members who are so passionate about the things that we do also. So thanks to everybody for that.
Thanks, Megan.
If you can't tell by my hat and the logo behind me and the logo on my shirt, I very much appreciate our team at Lebanon Rec, which if you haven't had a chance to meet Rachel, who was with us this year, or if you don't know Chrissy or Paul, who'll be coming back, we have a pretty, I think that the universe sometimes puts you someplace and allows really good things to happen. And our department has been on a really fantastic trajectory over the last decade as we all came together. And I see us moving into the future that way as well. It's certainly not without its challenges, but, we meet those head on, especially with our community partners. And, I'm just appreciative every day for that family that we have here and everybody who we bring into that family.
Thanks so much, Rick. John?
Well, I'd just like to say how much I appreciate working with this team. I've had the great pleasure of working around the state, so I've seen a lot of different communities. And I will say that this group, and I mean this sincerely, is amazing. I appreciate how well you get along. I appreciate the quality of conversation, the ideas that you have, and the team that you're working with at the city, I think, is just great. So I can't say enough good things about all of you, and I mean them sincerely.
Thank you so much, John. I'd have to agree. I have a special place in my heart for the rec department, and I've had long-standing relationships through my work, but also just as a parent and a community member. I brag about our rec department wherever I am, and feel really spoiled and really lucky with the amazing work you all do, and hard work. I mean, incredibly hard work you guys are doing, advocating for recreation in our community, and love to hear about successes like those that have been shared tonight between the playground in West Lebanon and Laura, your story as well. So thank you. I'm full of appreciation and really feeling very fortunate to be working with all of you, and it's very exciting. Without further ado, I've put in the chat the meeting feedback form. So please, if you get a chance to take it, if you click on it, it'll open up in another browser, hopefully. And you don't have to take it right now while we're still on, but as long as it's open in another browser, it should still exist when we close out. Anybody have anything else to say before we say goodnight? Perfect. Well, so wonderful to see you all. I look forward to the next time, and we will get some survey feedback ASAP. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.